fuck you, Tony. Got a group of failures and they're all my friends. Got a group of drinks and the bottles never end. And the night's gotta rock, gotta roll, and they gotta do fun. In the heart of no morals, babe, well, you're gonna get stuck.
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys again for tuning in to Joint Narcissism with me, motherfucking Tony Rager. All right, you guys, check it out. It's just me today. No guests. That's okay. It could be just me. And only me. Yeah. I'm sorry, that was awkward. I think I'm going to go deep on some philosophy today, you guys. I think I'm going to go deep on some philosophy. You know, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but, you know, if we were alive back in 1800s, I'd be a philosopher. If that was a thing back, you know, like, I don't really necessarily know what the world's gonna hold for us, you know, because I just finished looking at some Nietzsche stuff, some Nietzsche philosophy, and that was back in the 1800s, and God, still true to this day. George Orwell's 1984, still true. That is like, what is it? George Orwell is like an oracle for American civilization. Like, okay, let's say it's not exact, okay? But when you take the moral of what's being said and the actions being done and the depictions and all these different things, and if you take them and you bring it down, you suck it down to the most minimalist form, it's exactly what's going on today. There you got, okay, the most notable is the separation of families, the brainwashing of diminishing the idea of sex and love. Sex is, you know, in the show they were talking about how they were going to start teaching the kids that the parents don't matter, and like Big Brother is always watching, you know, that stuff's, it's crazy. I mean, it's not exact, but it's happening. We're being, all of our activities are being monitored via the internet. Granted, in George Orwell's 1984, he didn't have the internet. I mean, I guess you would need the internet. I don't know if everything was hardwired to Big Brother, but I would imagine that the internet was existing. But, and you got Nietzsche. You know, all of his philosophy holds up to today, and I can see how. Let me lean back. I can see it, you know, and I experience the negative aspects of the future, because I guess these things, although, you know, a lot of times it's fiction. Let's look at Black Mirror. That's the most relevant today type of conspiracy stuff, you know, back before 1984 or after or during. I don't know the time frame exactly. I think 1984 was made. Sorry about that. It was made in like the 1860s or something. Or no, that doesn't seem right, does it? 1960s or 1940s. Who cares? If you legit are listening right now and you care and you want to know, Google it, because that's how I find everything out too. And before we get the rest of the show started, we're almost 5 minutes in. I want to start out the show by telling you guys that the three most important parts of, you know, becoming a successful podcaster in the podcast world is iTunes reviews. Now, I understand the people that are listening right now are most likely not at home, not sitting at a computer. And I can understand how trying to go somewhere and subscribe and or leave a review would be time consuming or an inconvenience, especially if you're at the gym or if you're at work. You don't really have time to stop and do that. But help out the show when you got the time. Follow my social media. I'll be throwing reminders out there, you know, because I get it. We all got lives. But there's time. There's always time. Trust me, I know. There's always time. Help support the show. Help a brother out. Show some love. Make someone feel appreciated, celebrated, and loved. That's very important for the development of the human species, for men and women. And a lot of times, I believe our psychological setbacks and issues either come from too much or too little of those things. And I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast yesterday. I was listening to today, Jordan Peterson. God, Jesus, baby, blue-eyed, 9 pounds, 20 ounces. That don't make no sense. It's okay. It doesn't need to make sense. He explained the yin and the yang a little bit deeper that I never really looked into. I mean, I guess I sort of probably subconsciously understood it, but now, like, the way he better explained it, it helped, you know, open up my mind. The yin and the yang, you got the light and the dark. Everything's in balance. But what I never really focused on was the white dot in the black and the black dot in the white. And the way he explained it is even in balance, there needs to be a little bit, like in the dark, there needs to be a little bit of light in the dark. And in the light, there needs to be a little bit of darkness. It's because human beings, we need a constant reminder. We need a constant reminder of the good and the bad, and the humility to maintain and sustain and to understand why ideas and social, personal, impersonal, all these things, they all coincide. Like, let's say this refugee thing that's going on right now in the world, right? Like, the SJWs and Black Lives Matter and all these different things. Like, they think about this stuff and I believe that it comes from goodness, their behavior. I don't think that they're, as a majority, evil in nature. I think the opposite. I think that they think that they're good, and I think that they think conservatives and people who want to maintain a certain lifestyle are the evil. And I believe it's vice versa. And a lot of times the SJW side comes from envy. That's a lot of the reason why there is an SJW movement, a Black Lives Matter movement. Although Black Lives Matter, I get it. But I mean, if I look at it unbiasedly, unracially, just from a historical standpoint of people versus people, conquering and not conquering, it's happened throughout history. Everybody has been a slave at some point in our history. I mean, everywhere, even to this day, the place with the highest slavery is Africa still. And even when we brought slaves from Africa, they had slaves in Africa. We bought them. We didn't capture them. We didn't go there and raid villages and capture, man. No, they were sold by conquering villages. Other conquering villages and tribes would come in, conquer another village, capture the men, keep the women, or even sell off the women. And you got the Spanish conquistadors. They had the Brits had the French had anybody that it was a part of the economy, and it's shitty. The Pharaoh had slaves. Everybody had slaves, and it's an evolution of the human species. And I think what the problem is with the left side of our politics is people want to like fast track this process of mind evolution, and they want to force it on a percentage of the people that don't necessarily believe in these things. And belief isn't stone. Belief isn't stone. Belief is experience. So once we attain an experience that shows our once in stone belief can then become malleable and foldable. See, I used to be ultra liberal. I wanted free college tuition. I want free healthcare. But a lot has changed through experience. Experience is important. I think that's a part of the, like, almost 95% of the reason why people do not take SJWs serious is because they are young. They lack experience their whole lives. I wouldn't say, never mind. Let me recant that statement. I would say their current lives are in a bubble, and they don't see outside of that bubble. I think I talked about this before, but we have bubbles. I have a bubble. Every one of you listeners have a bubble. And within that bubble, that is the only reality that you know. It is the only real truth that you know is your own personal bubble. Where society tends to fall apart and find its troubles is when people think that the entire globe needs to be your bubble. So that means everything that you believe to be true and false, the rest of the world needs to believe that as well, which is false and it is wrong. We all have different experiences. I have a bubble, you have a bubble, but there needs to be a core value system, a common core value system within each of our bubbles that then creates one global bubble. And only until then will we reach a utopian type socialist communist society. And that's it. But right now, for the current state of the global psychology, we need to respect our bubbles. We got to respect our bubbles. I liked Nietzsche. Nietzsche, he had this philosophy where he hated the idea of the avoidance of pain. He shunned the idea of the avoidance of pain. That's why he said there's two narcotics. I think it's like some of the word, one of those synonyms. He said there are two narcotics that invaded Europe: Christianity and alcohol. He only drank water and the occasional milk, never touched the alcohol. But he believes that there, and even though Nietzsche sort of, he made the famous statement that God is dead, we killed him. He's not saying that is a good thing. He's not celebrating that statement. It's a sad thing because even I am, I can't say I'm atheist. Well, I'm agnostic. I'm agnostic because I don't know. And I'm the type of person that I can't commit to nothing. I can't commit to anything without, having something to back it. But, even he understood that religion, Christianity within itself, is a very important construct for a civilized society that works together and grows together as a symbiotic organism that works one with each other and its host site and all these other things. It's some deep stuff. It's some deep thinking. Now, what I'm gonna hit this pipe real quick. So. Nah, I'm not. I was gonna pause it and insert something, and nah, I'm just gonna smoke. Smoking on an old wooden pipe from like, I wouldn't doubt it. It's from like the 1700s or the 1800s. Cause there's a lot of old shit up here that's old as shit. Like, I have a shotgun up here that's from 1897. Has an original repair on the buttstock. A copper plated original repair. Pristine, beautiful, back in the day type shit. Another topic that I want to get on. It's something that's been bothering me for a very long time, and when I talk about these things, I get responses that attempt to normalize what I'm upset about. Like, oh, you shouldn't be upset. That's just the way it is. But when you start to study philosophy and human behavior, human curiosity, morality, all these things, you tend to realize that when people make excuses for such situations, they're just excuses. That's all they are. There's no validity in what they're saying, other than this is why I chose to make this choice that you disagree with on a social platform, is basically what it is. Now, I posted something on Twitter the other day. Friendship without the same resolve is not friendship. Now, what do I mean by that? Am I attacking people that don't see the world the way I see it, that don't believe the things the way I believe it? No. Kind of. Now, the way I grew up in this world, I don't know how or where or when. I don't know if it's nature or nurture, but I have this belief that friendship is a very, very valuable nomenclature to call someone. Friendship is like, I believe friendship is a far braver, stronger, validating measure of a person, because friendship is a choice. Now, family, everyone always, blood, but blood is thicker than water. Blood is thicker than water. Family first. Everyone always says these things, but in my experience, I don't agree with that sentiment. I don't, because in my experience, family fucking sucks, and families are the ones that are bringing you down. And family, right? It's always something like that. But friendship is a choice. And if you go off religion, free will is the greatest gift or the worst gift. It depends on how you look at it. But when you make a choice to call someone a friend, to spend time with someone outside of your family, to share things, experiences, beliefs, fears. A lot of times we turn to our friends when we need something of significance. A lot of times we don't always turn to our family. Now, granted, there are people, family is everything, family is all, end all, be all, etc., etc. But, the saying, blood is thicker than water, comes from the original saying, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. And I don't know if that came from religion or what, but what it means, the bonds that are built outside of family are therefore far greater, because it is an earned experience. It is a chosen path. You chose it. You had to work for it. You did what you had to. You know, you had your friends back. You didn't have your friends back. You know, it just doesn't matter. Friendship has a high value. And my problem with today is Facebook, Twitter, all these social media sites, like, it's chopped down the value of friendship. Now people can see what we think all the fucking time, you know? And then they when they comment, like, or share your stuff, they count that as an interaction, as time spent. Yes, subconsciously. I'm pretty certain people aren't literally thinking this, but subconsciously, it's a task done. So when asked outside of that task done, it becomes extra. It becomes work. It becomes an inconvenience. And within this inconvenience, you lose moral standing. You lose, especially if you fall to the thought of inconvenience. If you fall to that idea of being inconvenienced by helping out, looking out, hanging out, being with, experiencing things with said friends. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I have clearly brought this up before. And you know, I get very similar responses every single time. Every single time. And one of the most recent experiences was I posted on Facebook stating, you know, if you do not want to, something like, I'm not going to look it up because I'm on the podcast right now. I don't want to sidetrack. But if I want, I was saying that if you only choose, now granted, this post was not towards him, it was towards someone else, but he chose to react to it. If you like, basically calling people a coward who refuse to have a debate outside of the Facebook platform. That fucking Facebook troll. That's all that is. Yeah, I can't convey myself properly via the fucking text format of Facebook. I think too fast and my fingers don't catch up. My keyboard is stupid. I get irritated. I'll write a long thing and I'll start messing up and I'll delete the whole thing. I'll just say fuck it. So that's a platform that isn't valid when it comes to a conversation, a debate of ideas. The transaction of ideas needs to be respected. It shouldn't be minimalized. It shouldn't be brought down to the point where its valued is less than, I don't know, an hour? You know? Slight inconvenience. It's just the value of friendship has fallen and it's not being recognized. It's not being talked about. People are just adapting to a new form of culture. And I think that it is, like, granted, evolution, all these things, they are great. They're necessary for society to grow, right? But when we leave out the good parts of the old stuff, the new stuff can't thrive. That's evolution. We hold on to the good things, the things that matter, the things that make a difference. That's what we do. Social media has essentially almost made that idea, thought, an extinct one of the past. The new evolution is it's so self-centered, self-indulgent, self-serving, even to the point where you'll become where pointing this flaw out in a character will be called self-serving. Although calling someone self-serving for calling someone out on a lack of morality towards friendship is self-serving because it's a defense. I don't need to defend myself. Well, you did. And it doesn't matter what you intended to say. What matters is the way it's perceived. And that's why I don't do Facebook debates. I just don't. Because it matters. Tone, inflection, all these things matter. That's why people are going nuts over everything fucking Trump does. And like him firing Comey is a good one. He was a shit director of the FBI. I think everybody should go. All of the government should go. Even Trump. Everybody. All brand new. Start over. Super hardcore vetted motherfuckers like Julian Assange is just the one guy. Him and his team of WikiLeaks bust their ass to vet every single person put into a government seat. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I'm just upset. Okay, you guys. And I spent a lot of time thinking and pondering, and I guess it's good. I mean, if, like I said in the beginning, if I was in the 1800s, I would be considered a philosopher, and you guys would be talking about me right now. But that's not the case, and maybe 200 years from now, people are talking about me, but I doubt it. I doubt people are going to be talking about me for 200 years from now. But it's okay, because you guys can talk about me right now, everyone listening. In a perfect world, it would be a middle class world. Everyone would have at least 2-car garage, big backyard, a house, $100,000 a year. Yeah, it's crazy that that's a middle class, but 100,000 a year is about middle class. Sad. It's such a big number to me. That's a utopia, sans racism, and just the basic idea that America's based on is I mind my own business, they mind their own business, we choose to be friends, and then there's every step that is taken, there's a moral value that's added to each chosen step. I don't know. Maybe people are too weak, idea-wise, brain-wise, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. I'm going to smoke some more. I'm legitimately scared about Islam. And, I think if I was a single man, childless, I wouldn't be that worried about Islam, to be honest with you. But as a family man and a man that has a woman and a daughter, I don't know. I'm pretty certain most of you listening know the love of a mom. To know what it means to love a mother. I get the examples of that every time I walk into the house with my son. I get an example of what love for your parents should have been, My son goes nuts every time I walk. Daddy, yeah, he's just excited. And it could literally be me up here for an hour and I come downstairs and then I do it again. It's the same reaction. He's never just sitting there, blah, blah, blah. Like me, I don't have that love. I don't know. I never experienced that kind of love. And I think that that's important. It's important for me because I think it's forced me to look at the world differently, because witnessing an experience and never experiencing it can cause a person to ponder and question and wonder. And it's important. And it's important to conversate about differing or compiling or similar ideas, because that is how a society, a community maintains, sustains. And yet here we are. Here we are today, where words will literally break your bones, apparently, and can be constituted as a crime, a thought crime. Sound like a familiar idea? Sort of like George Orwell's 1984. Sorta, huh? Or where the schools are the ones raising our kids, teaching our kids. There's a school in Florida, apparently, that was teaching Islam to some elementary kids. And I'm not religious, but I mean, Christianity isn't even allowed. They like banned praying in school. Like, when it comes to praying, I would say Christianity is the least inconvenient praying method. It's literally when they eat. You know, it's not like they're taking time out of class to sit down and pray. Don't even get me started. It's really getting hard, you guys, to deal with witnessing and like being bombarded with this idiocy. Like, I think I knew this shit existed. I think we all have known that this stuff has existed, and yet, you know, the common sense majority of society has just been like, you're dumb, whatever, and just ignored them. And in a backlash, this is the consequences of ignoring the idiocies of the everyday citizen. And maybe that's where democracy is lacking, where they go on the majority of votes. You know, maybe there's an idea out there that isn't communism and it isn't socialism. It's just an adaptation to a republic democracy that makes it so that the minority also has a voice in the choices, so that there is no vacuum that is created, you know? Oh, let me see what's going on out here. Dogs barking. You know, there's always some shit going on in this fucking place. I want to move away so bad. I want to move away from here so bad. Like, you had no idea. I fantasize about like living in a cheap city. I don't know. One with like no taxes, barely any taxes. Everyone minds their own fucking business. Man. And everybody minds their own business, and they are also responsible. I fantasize, you know, I fantasize leaving and just thinking about how weird it'll feel to be able to drive down the street and not see tweakers, fucking gangbangers, and just abandoned buildings and, you know, shootings every night. Shootings all the time, you guys. I'm so desensitized to gunfire. I've seen a dead body recently, you know, all these shootings. I just can't imagine what it'd be like to even live outside of that. To not have that be a thing. Just peace. You know, maybe the occasional argument or even a fight. Even a random fight. Fights are normal. People are afraid to fight. There's a big fight that needs to be done, you guys. And that fight is with our consciousness. That fight is spreading ideas. That fight is the spreading of all information, factual. Let me make that factual. Now I might spread an article or two that's funny because it's obviously fake. But I don't know, you guys. Well, I think that's going to be it for this episode. Whatever app you're listening on, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. And if you really want to help out the show, like if you really care, go to iTunes, subscribe, rate and review. And if your friend has an iPhone and you're chilling, have them also do the same. Even if they don't listen to podcasts, have them do the same. Help me out. So frustrating. That's like the hardest thing about podcasting, you guys. It's the hardest thing about podcasting. Thousands. I had like almost 5,000 downloads last month. Not a lot. But imagine if everybody commented. That would be amazing. Like, you guys don't even see, like, I'm smiling. I'm smiling because I know the potential of that, but I also know that it'll never happen. It's like winning the lottery. It's literally like winning the lottery. If everybody listening left a comment, rate and review on iTunes, then like I would probably be number one on iTunes, and millions and millions and millions of more people would be able to see me. And then I'd be able to get my ideas out there and spread the word of the gospel of Tony Rager. I'm just kidding. All right, you guys. You can find me on all apps. Laughable, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Google Play, Stitcher. I don't even promote Stitcher anymore. I don't like them. I don't really like them anymore. But yeah. Patreon. Patreon.com/GSMH. That is to help support the show financially. That is to help me with the bills. And to buy equipment and stuff so that I can, better pursue ideas such as short filmmaking. I need to get a GoPro. I have my drone, which I don't need to fly it to record with, which is great news. So that's a 4K camera on a gimbal. And then all I need is just an extra camera, like a GoPro. And then I can really get going in making quality film, a quality short film. I'm really into creating and producing stuff. It's really what makes me feel accomplished is when I get these bursts of inspiration and then I follow it through to completion. A lot of times with creative people, we either have to improvise or we have to stop until then we can further that goal. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for listening. I really do appreciate you listening to the show. Every download counts. Everyone matters. I love you guys. Thanks. All right. Peace.